These niggas feel what jealousy. I'm doing good, that's what they envy me. This girl is in my memory. Oh, for I get your felony.
What is up, you guys? Sage here, and today we're going to talk about, even if it's briefly, the idea of mastery. Someone said mastery is doing what you're called to do, right? Because you have to do it, as opposed to doing what you want to do because you're avoiding, because you're avoiding what you've been called to do. And in my mind, that touched slightly on the idea of destiny. Do you believe in destiny? Are we destined to do certain things? Are some people destined to fail? Can we change our destiny by avoiding the things that we're supposed to be doing in order to fulfill that destiny? Does that lead to failure? It's a very, very interesting concept and talk that I just wanted to touch on briefly, which is, what is mastery truly? As far as I'm concerned, he spoke about it very particularly in that context. He said, if mastery is. So he gave it a bit of context. So let's go outside of that for a second and say, what is mastery for me? For me, mastery is when you put 10,000 hours in and you can, notice the small things, the nuanced things in whatever field, whatever industry you're in. And in so doing, you become very advanced in doing what you're supposed to do. What it also made me think of was there are fighters out there who say they're destined to be fighters. And it's really hard to disagree with them because they're very successful fighters, You can't disagree with someone when they're extremely proficient and extremely efficient at doing what they do. It's very hard to say, no, that's not your calling. That's not what you're called to do. Like, how can someone be called to punch other people in the face, But at the same time, when you are that good at something versus doing other things that you're like, versus other things don't really pull you or call you as much, then I suppose it would be your destiny. Do we choose our destiny? Is destiny something that we walk into, and as we're walking into it, we discover ourselves through it? Can that be anything? I mean, to speak of myself briefly, I did play rugby, for a while, got into coaching. And what actually satisfied that part of my heart is just knowing what it feels like to not give up on myself, but as well as seeing someone who came from similar circumstances to me actually doing what I was kind of endeavoring to do. It just satisfied that part of my soul. I used to deeply desire to sort of make it just to prove to myself that I could. But now that someone from very similar circumstances to me has made it, even in, let's talk about it. Even in instances where they didn't make it straight out of high school into like some sort of contract, into boom, 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 boom. I'm talking about a guy who did the long way, the hard way, right? There's this OG in Zika for Sunday.
Educated, this life I celebrating. Pull up on your block with glass to make sure I'm a decorating. I'll be on my block with killers, that's no question, get the paper. They're the type of guys that take the payment and then see you later. Always, out the country, yeah, I'm a nomad. Niggas always hate when you're rich because they got no bag. Think I'll find a pocket, but there's no way I'ma settle in. Can't settle for box, came in the game for one thing, just to win. I can't win, that's all facts. Millions in my notepad, I got you, girl, don't hold.
And right now he's tearing it up at Curry Cup level, and he's like the breakthrough player of the Curry Cup. And I think that's special. That's really special because he's someone who, outside of he played EP, from EP went into the Rovers, from the Rovers got to the Sharks, went back down, played for the Rovers. Now he's at the Pumas, and he breakthrough year, right? So if you don't give up, so that was proof enough that, if I didn't give up, I probably would have made it. Probably. Because I really sincerely believe that if you hit your head against the wall enough times, the wall is going to break or your head's going to break. And if your head's broken, you're probably going to be dead, so you won't care. But if the wall breaks, then whoop-diddy-doo, the wall's broken, you did it, you know? So I think for me, just living vicariously through him, I was like, yeah, knew I could have done it, you know, kind of. Like if you're just resilient enough through injury, through this, through that, you just keep on going. So then it turned into a conversation of, so why not that? You know, why is like when I'm trying to go in that direction? And I thought briefly that it may be a circumstance where I needed certain things. I needed to learn certain things. I needed to have those certain interests, to have an interest in training. I feel like God knew that if I wasn't abnormal, if I wasn't freakishly strong and didn't have a more than decent ability to build muscle, then I would have lost interest in training very quickly, and I would have never discovered, for example, motivational speakers that I ran into. I would have never discovered the whole concept of self-improvement if I were never good at, you know, not just good, like if I weren't freakish in that endeavor, then I never would have bumped into those people and those types of mentalities. And in a sense, I guess when you go through that, you do get a feeling of it's written in the stars, because you go through that, you go through this, and it all lands you up at a certain place. And when you're at that certain place and you have those skills, you're thankful that certain things didn't work out. You know, great man once said, sometimes the one thing you wanted to happen is the best thing that never happened because it got me here. That was Dwayne Johnson who said that. He was talking about him not making it in the NFL. Right, and it was the best thing that never happened because he was now in a position where he had to develop other skills, go into other industries, meet other people, and he ended up being more successful than he could have been if he had went into the NFL. He'd probably be some NFL quote nobody, that as in he would be nobody to us. We wouldn't know about Dwayne Johnson. He'd just be some other NFL player versus who he is now, right, which is the most followed man in America on Instagram. Obviously very successful, very famous. Destiny. Destiny. You're an interesting creature, but I do think it is up to us ultimately to sort of wrap this up and make it. If I give this, if I tie it up with a bow tie at the end, then it's gonna seem like I knew what I was trying to get to. It's gonna seem like I had a point, when in reality, it's more exploring this idea, you know, with you guys present, than it is sort of I have the answer, you know. And I think that's good to do as well, just to live in thought, to contemplate, to perhaps provoke thought within yourselves. And as I'm going through this, perhaps I stumble upon some things, is the hope. And I think that's what ultimately calling, quote, is. I had this tweet that I put out which said that it is in the process. Okay, we all know that we're supposed to do something. We may not know what it is, but there's an activity that we feel that we need to be doing. Even if you don't have like a very specific thing that you feel like I'm supposed to do that, you do feel like you're supposed to do. Another thing I put out said, we are God's creation, and our creator created us to create, you know? So I believe all of this ties in, and I believe it starts with just being directionally correct. I think that's the ultimate thing, which is if you pick that destination, and sometimes that won't be the where you land up, but if you pick a direction and you work toward it, the ultimate piece, the ultimate showpiece, the ultimate thing that you're working on is not really that particular venture. The ultimate thing that you're working on is really yourself, because that's the one thing that I've carried on from trying to go into this industry, that industry, work with these people, work with those people, trying out different concepts. The one thing that has remained constant and has consistently improved as a result of doing is me. So I think that's ultimately the takeaway from this destiny conversation, is regardless of what destiny may be, as long as you are doing the right things. And we all have a sense of what the right thing is, and of what the things we're supposed to be doing, the things we're supposed to be learning, what we're interested in, that would ultimately benefit the most people. Because I think that's ultimately the thing with me and my rugby career, right? If I'd focused on that and given to that, is ultimately at the end of it, I'm like, yeah, I do inspire people, but there are a lot of people inspiring people. I would perhaps give as much as I can, do this, do that. But there's certain things that I wouldn't be able to do, and I wouldn't have the time to master, because I'd be so focused on honing in on that craft that I wouldn't be focused on reading the books that I'm reading now, focusing on things I'm focusing on now, educating myself on things I'm educating on, practically trying these things out, getting these experiences, and ultimately sort of pushing this ultimate goal of, hey, let's liberate Africa. Let's take a step in the right direction. I'm not saying, hey, in my lifetime I'm gonna push all of this and do that, but let's take a step in the right direction, and let's start here, and then go to community, and give, educate, and sort of do it. Because if I don't do it, then who will? If I don't do it here, who's going to do it here? If I don't do it for my people, who's going to do it for my people? You know? So, and this thought process is literally a result of my entire life experience put together. So I guess, to cap this off, what is destiny? I have no idea. Do we control it? No idea still. But what we can control are the controllables, and as long as we control those, we keep moving forward, we keep getting better, we keep learning, and we never ever stop, then we will run into success in uncommon hours. On that note, love you guys, appreciate you guys. Sage, signing out.